curmudgeon in that sense. So I can see it both ways.
No, and I agree with that entirely. But I don't like the way some of those people also look down on you if you don't do your leaves. But I really believe that we need to be being a future beekeeper. I believe that we need to keep a lot of this stuff around. I think that I try to leave some like over
natural.
Because that's what we're messing it all up by constantly doing that, or the way the people are constantly using chemicals, to get rid of their dandelions. That's why we don't have any fucking bees because of that. That's really fucked up. So I have my guest this week is Neal Hoffman. He is the founder and creator and everything else in between of Mensch on a Bench. He was amazing, and I was fortunate to be able to interview him earlier in the week. We did it via Blab, so that part of the show we can actually put up on all the, on my website, on Not Kosher website, and you can see that he was a complete mensch, that he took the time to talk to me as long as he did. And when I tried to let him go after about 20 minutes, he said, no, why are we going already? I felt bad. I didn't want to take up this man's time. He was amazing.
He was having a lot of fun with you, though. You guys did well together. And
I did want to play Kosher or Not Kosher with him, and I forgot, and I'm bummed because I might have to call him back to play it with him. So I want you to give a listen into the interview that we had with him. He was great. Grant was very excited, too, because he's a little toy man, too.
Yeah.
I would like to say that I am so fortunate to have Neal Hoffman on my Not So Kosher show today, or Not Kosher, whichever one you choose it to be, through the Alive and Social Network. So Neal is a Marblehead native, correct?
Correct.
Did you grow up on the water?
I did. I love it.
Man, by the JCC, kind of?
Not far. Not probably a couple hundred yards.
Oh, you're so lucky. I can't even believe it. So Neal is a proud father of two beautiful sons, and he is the founder and the creator of Mensch on a Bench, Mr. Moish.
Well, a funny story before we even get started.
Go ahead.
My eldest son, who inspired the Mensch on a Bench, his name, because my wife is Catholic and we're raising boys Jewish, and I really wanted my kids to know that they were Jewish. There was no question. He is Jacob Maccabee Hoffman. And Jacob Maccabee is the one who inspired me to write that book about the Maccabees and the whole Mensch thing. And it's this great irony of my life that it is Mr. Maccabee that did it.
I love that. Isn't that nice that we have those little things that always flare up? Like they're meant to be. Yeah, inspire. Mom, thanks. I know you're always there for my English coaching. Thank you so much. You need to stay on to help me because I always lose my big words because I only know. I tell my mom I only know 4-letter words. That's all the more I know. But she's very intelligent. So anyways, he resides in Cincinnati, right? Or kind of like Madeira, right?
Yep.
Okay. And he's got his beautiful wife and his two wonderful sons. And he is here from the Ohio Jew Waves. He has been on The View, on the Today Show, which I have to say I personally saw that one with Al and the big Mr. Moish, which was so hysterical. And he's been mentioned on numerous shows and many other things. And he's an incredible person in my eyes. And you've done some really cool things by bringing these to children and adults alike. Do you have anything else you want to add about how fabulous you are?
No, I was on Shark Tank.
Oh, sorry. We were getting there. That's right. I was getting to that part. But the biggest thing that he's been is he was on Shark Tank and he actually won their love and they went with him, right?
Yes.
And they don't,
there's them today.
It's pretty cool. I mean, do you enjoy working with them? Are they cool to work with? Are you still in that? How does that go? Like, does Shark Tank still continue? Do those people still continue to be with you? Was it all of them were on board or?
Got Lori and I got Robert.
Yeah. Okay. And
so very different in their style. So Robert has a lot of companies. He runs his own $150 million company. So he does not want to get into the details of what color the menorah is. So Robert comes in at the highest level and is more like giving me advice on how many items should be launched, what's our cash flow like. And he's, very structured on kind of the business structure. Laurie, on the other hand, is maybe the best product person of this generation, other than Steve Jobs. I mean, she's an eye for product, and we will stay up till midnight talking about colors and shapes and new characters and new books And, should we do a female Mensch? What should she look like? And, all these different crazy ideas. And she's very into the details. And, they balance each other out very well. And I like them both.
You were so lucky to be able to go on there. Was it nerve-wracking to try to have to, I mean, like, how did you flew in? Do they have a car pick you up? How does that go?
No. So you go in and you stay at a hotel.
Yeah.
And you go in on, I went in on maybe a Monday night. Tuesday is practice day. And practice day, you go in with maybe 12 other entrepreneurs, and they stage you, you have all your stuff behind you, and you practice your pitch. Well, what I didn't realize is the practice pitch is for the executive producer, and that's not a practice pitch, that's an audition. And
I suppose,
after that, they tell you if you're going to go on or not.
Wow.
And I did not realize, so I was probably more comfortable than I should have been. And my guys had told me, look, Neil, you need to dial it up to 11. And I was like, you guys want 11? I'll give you 11.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's add more Funica to Hanukkah. And the executive producer, Clay Newble, loved it. I mean, he said to me, you should come in and teach people how to pitch. You're just wonderful at presenting. And I was like, well, thank you. And I walked off, and the two guys, producers I've been working with, were like, you made it. You're going to go on Shark Tank. And
crazy.
I'm Jewish, so I'm nervous by nature.
Shocking.
And I knew I'd feel like a ball of anxiety, and I'd be feeling sick. So what I did was I asked them if I could go first my day of pitching. And I know that sometimes the pitches go long, and the last person just sometimes gets bumped. But if you're first, you don't get bumped, and not as much time for the nerves to build up. So, and Shark Tank is all real. I mean, you're standing at the front of the hallway. They say go. You walk down that hallway. Now, the worst part was I stood on my mark for 60 seconds staring them all down while they set the cameras. That was terrible.
Was it? Well, I suppose. I mean, you're nervous as hell, and then you're supposed to just stand there, right? I mean, and wait.
Eyes. You're looking at 5 celebrities. They're kind of smiling. They're kind of smirking. My product was hidden, so they didn't know what to expect. And, it was just kind of crazy.
Wow. All right. So, we have a little question on the side from Cheryl Cloner. And I know this answer, obviously, but because I studied you because you're amazing. But she wants to know how you came up with the idea of Mensch on the Bench.
Yeah, I see a bunch of questions. So
you see them. Okay, great.
Yes, it's always Hanukkah in my house. That's the first question. And the answer. My mom gave me a hard time about the Jewish holidays and how long my kids are going to temple. And my response was, this is the most Jewish house in Cincinnati.
365 days of presents.
Thousand Jews in my house right now, literally. Don't worry, we're good. The person who wants to learn how to pitch, send me a personal message. I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah, this Larry, for sure, right?
I was in my basement 2 years ago doing this. I love anybody who's kind of grinding it out. And how did I come up with the idea? Well, my wife is Catholic, and I'm Jewish, and we fight every year. We call it the December dilemma of do we want to go and do we want to have a tree? Do we want to have a wreath? And I'm kind of tough about that. I recognize every family's different. Everybody can have their own traditions. For me, it was not okay to have a tree in the house. We're raising the boys Jewish, and as I say, Jesus is the meal, Christmas is the dessert. And if you don't eat the meal, you don't get the dessert. So you don't get Santa if you don't believe Jesus. Yeah. Just my view on that. So we're at the store, we're walking through Nordstrom's, and my son runs up with an elf on a shelf. And I'd seen this all around, and my sister-in-law does it. And I just looked at him, I was like, dude, you can't have an elf on a shelf. You can have a Mensch on a bench. And I fell in love.
Crazy.
I was on my phone within 10 seconds searching. It didn't look like anything was out there. That night I went back and I wrote the book. And the book is a 1-page in Word. I mean, I went and I sat down with my wife and my son, read it to them. They liked it. And we actually went on vacation for a week. It's all I talked about on vacation.
I was going to say, when you go on vacation, your brain's always into something like that you just thought of.
I was
because you're not working
ahead of myself. I was like, honey, we're going to be on Shark Tank. We're going to have it. I got this idea for an app and a TV show and wrapping paper, dreidels, and oh my God, what about this? So the whole week I'm talking. We get back, and my wife says to me, you need to shut up and do something about it. And
have you come up with ideas before? Have you had other things where you've come up with ideas and she's always like, get going on it because someone else is going to come up with it?
Not like that. I mean, okay. I come up with ideas all the time, but they're not like that. This was really like the first one that I wanted to invest my time into.
Cool.
And so I filed the trademark that night. I did it myself. I went on to the U.S. government site, figured out how to file a trademark. I didn't really know how. 3 days later, somebody else filed for the same trademark.
Yeah, I saw that. I couldn't even believe it. How do you know? How do you know that they did that? I've never done a trademark before.
Well, I knew because she called me.
Oh,
and she was really upset. And she was like, please tell me that you didn't file 3 days before me. I was like, sorry. Yeah,
wow. That's crazy.
And
it's Basheret. It's Basheret.
Yeah,
right?
What's funny is somebody else had a similar idea, and they got the domain name Mensch on a Bench, but they didn't do anything with the idea other than that. So I got the Mensch on a Bench.
Oh,
and I reached out to this guy, and I was like, and this is at the point I just started. I had, no money other than I had $300 in the trademark invested. And I said, I'd like to buy this from you. And the guy's like, how much? And I was like, I'd give you like $20 right now. I mean, I got nothing. And the guy's like, well, come back later on. And, about 9 months later, I bought it from him for $200 and 2 Mensches.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
So, Neal, how did you actually come up with making this the first time? Like, you had the idea in your head. Did you draw it out? I know you were a past exec at Hasbro. So were you working with them at all? Or had you already left there? Or
I'd already left Hasbro.
Okay.
So my wife is at Procter & Gamble. And when she got promoted, I had to leave Hasbro and move to Cincinnati with her. So I left my dream job. I was missing toys, came up with this crazy toy idea. She encouraged me to go after it. So the first thing I did, I went on to 99 Designs and found some illustrators to help me get kind of the idea from my head into paper.
Yeah.
What I loved about 99 Designs is you get all these different designers putting up with their interpretation of what you're doing, and then you vote on it. And based on how you vote, they react, and they get narrower and narrower into what you finally want. And then ultimately I ended up, my own little, this is my coffee mug.
I love it. You've made it if you've got a coffee cup with your little project idea on it. Absolutely. Or logo, whatever. Oh my gosh. So
I ended up going on to Kickstarter.
Oh, and that's right.
I reach out to every person I've ever met. And what I love is if you look at my Kickstarter, I have not only Jews supporting me, but friends supporting me. And, they were friends who were Hindu, Islamic, Christian, Jewish. I mean, the whole spectrum. We're all just very supportive. And, we went forward. We did it. We raised the money. And I got my wife to let me invest a little bit more. And we bought $1,000. And they arrived at the house. We'd sold 300 through Kickstarter. So we'd sold 300. We had 700 in the basement. They arrived. And the books are terrible, terrible, terrible quality. You open them up, they fall apart. They're unfinished. I called my factory in China, and they said, we'll refund you the money. We'll refund you the 50 cents. And I was like, 50 cents?
Wow.
And I had a friend in the printing industry here who reprinted them all for me at cost. But cost was still $7 a piece.
America, but
overnighted them to me, and so that's $7,000 out of pocket that we just decided to spend, because at that point, as I said, I'd emailed every person I'd ever met, and I was like, I'm not going to put out crap. It's just not. And my wife was very supportive. She was like, we put our names on this. We're not putting out something we don't feel good about.
Totally
and
agree.
It was the best decision we ever made. Everyone who got Mensch loved it. We sent the Mensch out to a few PR outlets. And it made it to The View, it made it to the Today Show, New York Post, USA Today, Huffington Post. It was absolutely amazing. And then last year, we got back to the Today Show for a second and third time when we sent them the 5-foot Mensch.
Yeah, they love that one. Who wouldn't?
Now Roker some specials. We'll see if he decides to do year 3. I love that.